So this is my very first case. It's with David Copperfield. I had the notion that, well, it was kind of a joke. It was like I knew he had some kind of thing going on, so I thought, well, I'll be the creditor for this what I call godly powers. That's what's producing his magic shows. Nobody else wants to come forward, so I will claim the reins and be the provider of whatever's producing his shows. I just wanted to point out here that when I say that this is the word kind of like at the beginning was a joke. What happened is that it turns out it wasn't a joke. In other words, I thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. It turns out that he has my godly powers. Initially, I didn't think so. I had heard through the grapevine that that there was another thing out there that was providing powers. I guess you could refer to that as Satan or Lucifer, or some people even refer to this bitch as God. But I thought, okay, so because nobody was acknowledging these godly powers, I started to suit off, thinking I could just take claim for it, because nobody else was taking claim for it. It turns out I was actually, it wasn't a joke. In other words, they were my powers. What happened is just before that lawsuit, and the reason why I commenced the lawsuit, I didn't realize that things happen in an orderly manner with me. It's not order. It's so strange how things occur. But what happened is that I was able to suck in all the spirits throughout the planet over the years, and the big one was this bitch, and I sucked this thing in, the spirit, and I claimed all the godly powers of the rest of the planet after that. So it's complicated, but it's kind of simple in that aspect. That anyways, so it turned out I was right. That this event occurred just before the lawsuit. I didn't realize what it really meant until the lawsuit got commenced and the replies came back indicating that this godly power thing exists, and not just that. What was the statement? There's no known cause for the usurpation of godly powers. Well, that's of Chris Roller's godly powers. That's the inference in there. So I just want to clarify that. It initially started off with that I could take claim for this, and then it turned out I was actually right. I can take claim because they are mine. All godly powers on the planet are mine. So you'll see the actual complaint. You'll see the complaint, and it's got what's been shown on, like, what's it called? One sec. Celebrity Justice and Smoking Gun. You'll see the Smoking Gun recites the complaint. This would be the first experience I'd have with lawsuits. I had a book, I forget who it's by, but it helps to do civil cases. As a book I was reading to help consult me along the way, and then I eventually got prepaid legal to help in the consulting area as well, to figure out what to do, next and all that, and what to expect. I think on TV they'll talk about the trial, but it's the trial thing. It's everything before that is you don't see much of that on TV, so it's actually it's not that well known what you do in this stuff. I'm just looking through the docket here to see what happened. I had to make an amended complaint because I was having trouble serving him, having trouble finding him, or something to that effect. Let me see here. The address was different. I thought it was in Las Vegas or something, something was different about the address. And it turns out the serving a complaint is really a pain in the butt. It was really a pain in the end, and I eventually learned to just try to make it easy as possible. I mean, you got to pay geez, every time it's like $75 just to have a sheriff do it, and it's like if that was wrong, they got to pay it again. It's like, what? Oh boy. So serving stuff, and you would just think that you could just serve it with postal service, just to make sure that postal service certified mail, even with a signature required. You think that'd be enough? And I think it is nowadays, but at the time it didn't seem like it was there. This would also be the start of the legal passiveness when it comes to the English language. The passiveness is, they seem to say everything except for, it's just a big mumbo-jumbo passive sentence that somehow gets around getting any answers, getting any information, very little. But, you know, there's talk in there that I didn't have an employment relationship with David Copperfield, and thus, you know, that's kind of why I was suing. Is, you know, I probably shouldn't have won this one. Yes, they had, but it is, just notice the bullcrap, how they passively say everything in this thing. It's, but they do say in there, yeah, that, you know, there's no employment relationship, that, you know, it doesn't, you know, but it's, I'm looking through this thing, I'm busting through it a little bit, and it's the way they write these things is just, it's hard to look at, it's hard to read this crap. But what I did get from this thing is that in July, this thing was filed, I think, in April, May-ish. Anyways, in June, I think in July, end of July, I filed a patents based on there's no known, there's a one sentence in the reply that they never stated that there's no such thing as godly powers, okay? That they weren't saying that, hey, there's nothing strange going on here. There's nothing. I guess I expected David to say, hey, listen, these things are just conventional. They're just regular tricks that are just done, you know, behind the scenes. But because he didn't say that, and he did mention that there's no known cause for the usurpation of godly powers, it indicates that there's no known cause for the stealing of godly powers. That I realized that I needed to make a patent on this. What they're saying is that there's no law that says that there's any way to get any compensation for godly powers. So I realized that I needed to get a patent on this thing in order to actually sort of say that people are infringing on a patent. And then there's a claim. And then there's actually something that says there's a force available. And I'll talk about the patent stuff in another link, but I just needed to file a patent in order to get. So in the document I highlighted, if you open up the document, the motion for the memo for the reply and the motion to dismiss, it's called a memorandum in support of the motion to dismiss. Looked at, now I kind of highlight some things in there. One of them is there's no known cause for the usurpation of godly powers. One second. The way it's, by the way, I'm a little bit new to the English, this legal mumbo jumbo. So when I read this, there's no known cause or recognized cause of action for the usurpation of godly powers, I realized right there that they're not denying, they're not saying. Okay, anyways, that was my. So I think I made a motion for some reason. Let me see what I did here. I realized that, you know, that I did make a motion for judgment. It's I later realized it should be called summary judgment. But it essentially means that because he admits there's godly powers, that they're mine because nobody else is claiming it, and that's why I should get some compensation for this. Again, I realize that this is really not the venue for. This is just a stab in the dark trying to get some money for this. And by the way, I was early on, I'm thinking about counting the money. You know, I'd say for every lawsuit that I was in, I was thinking that I'm going to win this, and I'm already figuring out what I'm going to do with the money. You know, so and that was the case for this thing. But I would just start to realize it get dismissed, and I did file appeal, and that came back the same way. You know, basically, you know, but it's just sort of, you know, it didn't really, because it was the employment issue was a concern. I didn't realize that I was getting dissed by the system, or that the system sucks. At this point, I thought that there was actually some sort of, there's a way to restitute this. And again, I'm filing the patents to make this thing happen, this godly powers thing. So.